Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live reveal of The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess for GameCube No Save and Quit TAS. Hope
One of
that
the oldest
everyone.
categories.
Oh, yes. One of the oldest categories that there is because of speedrun history reasons. But yeah, so this is a task that was made by the one, the only, the guy downstairs, or TGD. How you doing, TGD?
I'm doing good. I hope everybody is ready to watch the task. I put a lot of time into working on this task over the past about 7 months or so. It was almost 7 months of work, almost to the day. I started this task on September the 11th and finished it on April 10th. So almost 7 months to the day. So it was a lot of work, but I'm happy to be here with the reveal, and I hope you guys are excited to watch it.
All right, very nice. Yeah, and so for commentary here, we have, of course, TGD himself. Uh, we have me, because this is my channel. Hi, I exist. And we got Anno.
Hello.
So I believe, Anno, you mentioned, or you previously mentioned to me that you were the one who made the route for this task.
Yes, based on something that was dug up a year or two ago, we found that it's actually fastest on the Japanese version, which is really unique for Twilight Princess. We'll keep the spoilers out, but this route ends up being really interesting.
Yeah, you're gonna see a lot of stuff that I'm pretty sure Anno is the only one that's ran No Save and Quit on Japanese, and even compared to RTA, there will be some differences with the route. So it should be fun.
All right, and yeah, I guess as an explanation for like this category, do you want to tell us about like the history of this category, Anno?
Yeah, so back when the game came out in 2006, speedruns were hosted on a website called Speed Demos Archive. And in those days, speedruns were either segmented or single segment. This is the single segment category. Any percent as we know it today didn't show up until 2011. Before that, it was all no save and quit, which is beat the game as fast as possible without returning to the title screen.
Yeah, and so pretty much back then, when this game came out, like pretty much all speedruns were done single segment or without saving and quitting. Although interestingly, the single segment no save and quit category for Twilight Princess kind of survived, whereas like for a lot of other Zelda games, like not saving and quitting kind of just faded away and wasn't really relevant anymore. But
Yeah, I think this was the most popular Twilight Princess category until about 2014, due to a couple of RTA unfriendly tricks.
yeah, that's definitely
At that time.
true. All right, well, do you guys either have anything else to say before we begin the reveal?
Only thing I guess I'll mention, just I won't mention the final time or who was closest yet. But as far as re-records go, it was it's all the way at the bottom here. It was, and a re-record is basically how many times you reload a save state. Um, so I had 383,353 re-records for the creation of this task. So despite loading save states, I did not save and quit. So I just want to throw that much out there.
Yep, that's a lot of re-records.
Yes.
How many of those were on Wolfo Super Jump alone?
Uh, Tens of, I mean, many thousand, many thousand, most likely.
Anyway, the final result should be really good. I haven't seen any of it yet, so I will be reacting just like all of you.
All right, well, without further ado, then we will click the play button. Here we go. And also, chat, feel free to tell us if the audio needs to be tweaked slightly. I would not consider myself to be the best at audio balancing. But anyway.
Oh, and just like a pre-warning, I ran into a couple weird issues when actually rendering out the tasks in Premiere Pro. So if a couple moments look kind of weird, I am aware of them, and nothing is wrong with the task itself. So as far as that goes, don't be alarmed. You just might notice a couple weird things.
Yeah, so starting off here, things are looking pretty normal. I assume we're gonna go do gate clip immediately, like we always do.
We sure are, except unlike any save and quit category, or I guess anyone that does back in time, we're not going to be doing back in time because that requires you to, well, save and quit. So
not necessarily in that order.
Yes.
But lining up the rock and getting through first try as expected. We'll be going through the start of the game, not normally, but we'll just be rolling through Faron Woods.
Yeah, I would also just like to say that the input viewer and the information on the side all looks really nice. I think it does add...
Thank you.
It adds quite a lot to just being able to see what's happening during the tasks, and also keeping tabs on our equipment and inventory and where we've been in Hyrule.
I won't spoil it, but there will be some funky business when it comes to your items you have on your item wheel. So I'll just leave it at that for now. But we're just coming here to get our lantern so that we can actually progress through the through this cave. There will be a few different webs inside of it.
Nice opponent slide
here.
Yep, that was an opponent slide. It's executed by simply just releasing R and pressing A on the next frame. It basically keeps whatever Epona's speed is. I think max Epona's speed is like 45 or something in Faron, so you can keep that speed and get a slide all the way, or a break slide all the way to the text trigger.
And that Epona slide will be very important later on in the run.
Yes. And we'll be taking some weird looking pathing through Faron here. So you see I'm rolling everywhere. And I'm getting frame perfect rolls, which basically means I'm holding lantern, so normally if you have an item out, the HUD would not appear. If you're holding an item, then it'll appear for a frame, but slopes in this game affect speed a lot. And so we are trying to limit how much we are going up or down a slope as much as we possibly can.
Looked like there was some erratic shaking on the way to that chest. You want to explain what was happening there, TGD?
Oh yeah, so that was a version of a break slide. You'll see it here as well. So that is known as a wiggle break slide. So a break slide in general, what it does is it converts speeds or link speed value to a negative value. And what that does is it basically negates any slopes. So it's not very helpful as human, because human link speed is not as fast as his max roll speed, like when you're just running. And you need to wait for a roll to be completed before starting a break slide. So it's not as helpful as human, really only where it's a super steep slope. But as Wolf, it'll be much more useful.
We'll be breaking the cage, and then, well, we do not have a sword at this point, so we need to do something to get rid of these bokoblins.
Yeah, normally in speedruns you would use Trill to get rid of them, but this is a task, so bye-bye.
Yep. It's a very, very precise spot to put the Bokos that they just kind of drown in ground collision for some reason. I don't personally know the reason why it works, but it does, and it's very entertaining to watch.
Not complaining. I can't imagine how long it took to get these rolls to not just roll past the bokoblins.
So actually, surprisingly enough, so I redid the beginning, like the first 4.5 minutes I redid, because when I first did it, it was really bad. It took me like a week and a half to do Boko pushing the first time, and it took me like 6 hours to do it when I redid it. So it ended up getting a lot easier with experience, but it was still very finicky, not clipping through them or like slipping off the side because Bokoblins have a cylindrical hitbox, and when you're pushing into it, it's very easy to kind of just slip off.
Yeah,
So about here is where the splice ended. So
yeah, rolling into those Bokoblins is pretty much impossible RTA. So it's very cool to see it done here in a TAS.
I've always wondered what it would look like, but never made the test. Thanks TGD for doing that.
you're welcome. And we got TAS goats. It's not going to be the fastest goats ever, but I've spent an embarrassing amount of time tassing goats, like multiple weeks just on goats. And with all my messing with it, that was the best time I could get. So I just kind of rolled with it.
Yeah, I do also appreciate the camera angle during that goats of actually seeing all the goats go in.
I got a fast fade out as well, which is nice.
Yeah.
In speedruns where we would do back in time, we'd go and get the iron boots right now, but because we didn't do back in time, Ordon is not in the right state, so we'll have to come back here later.
Yep, that's a big time loss for that you get for not doing back in time. Yeah, the length of the fade out is RNG. It depends on. I'm pretty sure it starts once the game is like fully registered that all the goats are actually inside the pen. Or they have to make like a certain amount inside. I don't know the specifics, but there is RNG to it.
Now suddenly we are a wolf.
Woohoo!
Alright, is he gonna break the box? Let's see it happen.
Those movements might break the chain first.
Beautiful Brock's break, though. Gotta save those 3 frames.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I'll do the classic. This is the Wolflink tutorial section. It just introduces you to Wolflink's abilities, so you can sense and you can dig, and you can dash, and you can like jump really high with Midna, and that's a lot of it. Right here is a quick cutscene. You fall at a pretty specific angle to make that cutscene happen as you're falling, rather than when you touch the ground.
Doing a side hop there. It's beautiful.
Yeah, a lot of this section with Wolflink is mostly about keeping momentum and doing a lot of dash canceling, which is where if you dash as Wolflink, you then normally can't dash again for about 2 seconds. But if you like dash and then something cancels the dash quickly, you can then immediately dash again at your next opportunity. Also, really good LJA right there. Off of that shadow run.
Another thing that the brake slides can be useful for is changing your angle while keeping that momentum. So doing a little brake slide to keep the angle into the tunnel.
Yeah, and with the different like types of brake slides, I started talking about wiggles. Wiggle brake sliding is really good for very extended distances in a straight line, basically. Essentially what it's doing is you're switching between different ESS values. So for all of them that I've done so far, it's just down left and down right on the control stick. But a true wiggle brake slide alternates also ESS right and left as well. But it's really good because it keeps you facing forward. and we need to say possibly dash out of a break slide or really just want to be facing forward, it's really good in that regard as well. Even if it's just a short distance where it doesn't actually save time compared to a regular extended break slide.
Yeah, and on each of these Midna jumps here, anytime that Midna has a text box before the Midna jumps, there's a frame that you can jump like really early for the Midna jump if you press A on that specific frame. So the TAS, of course, gets all those.
Really nice that we're able to skip most of the cutscenes in this game.
Yeah, the game would be a lot longer if we could not skip
Yeah.
really any of these earlier cutscenes. But now we have, I mean, when people are learning this game RTA, probably one of the hardest tricks to learn, sword and shield skip. Essentially, we technically don't have to do it in this category. We could just go and get the sword or go get the sword and shield if we wanted to, but that's slow. So we're going to lure our buddy Hugo over here, collect some rupees on the way, because why not? And use him to do something known as an LJA, to jump over a ground trigger into an air trigger that allows you to enter Faron Woods.
Yeah.
Looked
Good
like
luck.
a good spawn
Hopefully
for
we get
Hugo
it.
as well. Pretty close.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That
Yep,
yeah, that was incredible.
I gotta give credits to Eck for that way of doing sword and shield skip. He started work on a new 90% task, and in that whip he did it by attacking that wall on the side rather than directly attacking Hugo, and that saved a few. I don't remember how much it saved. I just did it that way. I didn't compare it myself, but it is definitely faster.
Yeah, it just makes sense with it seems like you can gain control much earlier by blocking the wall instead of doing like the typical jump attack.
Yeah, and right there I am positioning specifically to hit all of the shadow beasts on the same frame. Because when you hit an enemy, in most cases there's a 5-frame hit stun effect, and if you can sync that up with sync all enemies hit, you can reduce it to just one hit.
Yeah, that is lag that can't be reduced without combining the hits. Doing a 1-frame map pull there to skip a couple of text boxes. Because we need to go back to Ordon later, we do need to finish Faron Twilight. So we'll be going around getting these bugs.
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't realize that was the reason, because I guess Midna just doesn't allow you to warp to the Ordon Spring portal.
We didn't get it.
Oh, we didn't get it. That's right. I'm sorry. The sword and shield
You'd have to do
skips
that. If you got the sword and shield and got the portal, then technically you should be able to get away without doing Forest Temple, or without doing Faron Twilight rather.
Yeah. And because of that, it only loses about a minute or a little bit more to not do sword and shield skip in this category.
Some bug pushing.
I guess that is why the TAS would opt to do it in that order instead of the normal RTA way of getting that bug first.
Also, that gate doesn't exist.
And I'm actually wasting a little bit of time entering this load zone. The bugs need to be fully registered as dead before you enter. If they haven't blown up and you enter the load zone, they'll be alive when you come back. So we need to make sure they stay dead.
Yeah, we're able to skip some of these bugs just because we'll be going back through here later. Opting not to do a mid to jump there.
Yeah, I was talking about it before the task, but that first East LJA, that was first try. There will be another one coming up in a second that took me like a week to get, so I had some false confidence with Keys LJAs and manipulating their position when I did that one.
Onto another infamous trick in Twilight Princess, early Master Sword. Using this Shadow Beast Jamal to jump up onto this ledge. Very quick lineup and very nice jump.
Yeah, the incredibly precise way of doing the super jump for EMS and also jumping to the Sacred Grove.
Another the remix of Zelda's Lullaby. And now this is just pretty much the normal scripted Skull Kid fight sequence, just faster. All we're trying to do is get through, I think it's three hits on Skull Kid, and every time you attack him, he teleports somewhere differently. So we're just trying to do that as fast as we can.
You do a little brake sliding along the way.
Fun camera work as well.
That's one of my favorite things about tassing. Actually, this camera is RNG minute for these puppets, so I can do a cool jump attack right here. That took quite a while to get those puppets to where they're in a position that I would not target them rather than Skull Kid. Yeah, but like I was saying, one of my favorite things about tassing is just being able to mess around with the camera a lot and it really differentiates it from an RTA run where the camera is pretty much not controlled for the most part.
Yeah, it's also very convenient that the analog stick glitch exists in this game, because in a TAS it kind of means that you can do whatever you want with the camera while Link still runs in the same direction.
Also, I'm gonna get pushed by Skull Kid here.
Oh, that was very
Doing a very precise attack on him.
I was wondering what that lineup was for.
And for the this last fight, there is actually some RNG with it. So for one, ideally you only hit one puppet to limit the hit stun, but there's RNG with how long it takes for the puppet to actually explode, and that's when the timer for Skull Kid blowing his horn actually starts, not just when you first attack it.
Also some
But beyond
RNG
that,
and
there's
rupee
plenty of
drops.
Yep.
We will need the standard 300 rupees in this run to fix the cannon.
Yep. Yeah, there is a lot of RNG when you're trying to TAS. The RNG exists in RTA, but it's not as punishing, I'd say, in most cases RTA, whereas in TAS you're trying to get perfect RNG, so more RNG you have to manip means just the longer it takes. And in general, RNG manip in this game it's not like a value you can just edit in memory. It's done just by doing different things in games. So a lot of times it's adjusting your camera angle, or maybe in worst cases you might skip a cutscene a frame late, possibly, or change your movement slightly. But RNG manip in this game is completely controlled by you, so it's a lot of trial and error and just doing a bunch of different things until you get what you want.
Yeah, Thankfully, the RNG is just completely deterministic. So if you start with the same seed, like in a TAS, and then just do the same inputs every single time, you will always get the same results because you will always have the exact same sequence of RNG calls happen starting at the same value.
But we are at the Master Sword.
Sub 20.
Sub 20 Master Sword, yep. Pushing Bokos in the way that the TAS does is insanely fast. It saves a lot of time over RTA, as well as just general movement optimizations.
And this is the first thing we see appear on the equipment screen. And it is the only sword or shield we will get in this run. We'll be going shieldless.
Yep. Yeah. One funny thing about with seeing the input input viewer, you can see during like cutscenes when I forgot to like unpress a button or something, or like sometimes you'll see the Z button pressed for a very long time just because I forgot to uncheck the box in Dolphin.
So, to get into a little bit more of why Japanese is better for this run, obviously, most of the text in this game is instant. In fact, Japanese is slightly slower on text alone. But there is a trick called map glitch that is patched out of the Japanese version, and we will use that to our advantage in a little bit when we get to Elden Twilight. Also has some consequences later on that we'll have to use workarounds for.
But now that we have the Master Sword, we can warp back to Faron and finish the bug collection.
I always thought it was cool how No Save and Quit just ignores the Faron Twilight bugs after killing them and then comes back for them to skip having to wait for their animation to finish.
Yeah, that's something that's a bit different in the HD version. Having the instant tears.
Oh,
And also having early Master Sword plus.
Yeah. Another thing that was deceptively hard to task was those gate clips. I spent probably a good 15 hours collectively on just clipping through those gates because doing it the way that TAS does is like, I don't know what it was. I don't know if I was doing it weirdly or something, but it was extremely difficult when I was trying to do it.
Yeah, I mean, especially on that gate specifically, it seems very precise.
Because we have the Master Sword, we're able to transform there and go through the fog with the lantern. Getting this rupee here, just because we need to use that little bit of extra time waiting for the tears.
Yeah, we gotta wait for them to be collectible anyway, so we may as well get a little bit of money. This is where it varies a bit from RTA. We're actually going to skip this fight again. It's only faster if you do it from that position, and it's very hard to do it from that spot, RTA. And then going up that, there's just a lot of different versions of brake sliding depending on where I'm at and what is most useful in that case. So now we have Force Temple.
Normally, we do use that portal in RTA to get ending glow, so it'll be interesting to see how we get that.
And at the beginning of Force Temple there, you saw me do a weird, like, sidewalk and then walk to the side. So, also, spider skip. But that was an instance of a DF walk. essentially all you're doing is target walking for 2 frames, and then after 7 more frames, you start rolling. And what that does is gets you to max roll speed sooner. And the reason I went to the side there was just because going up a slope would make you gain speed slower. So if you go laterally to the slope, it's effectively staying on a level plane. So it just helps with building that speed at the normal rate you would with a DF walk.
Nice roll.
Thank you.
This is a little bit different routing in Forest Temple than a lot will be familiar with. We can't do the early monkeys trick because it requires back in time, which requires saving and quitting. So we will have to go around and save exactly 1 monkey.
Yes. But on the way, we'll go ahead and blow up these rocks, just because I really don't like those rocks. Definitely for no other reason.
Yeah, those rocks are stinky.
Bad rocks. Yes.
And in general, just while we're kind of rolling through Forest Temple, I gotta give a shout out to pretty much all the previous tassers. So Jim, Beast, Eck, TTM. I reference all those tasks multiple times for strats and movement ideas, and it's some stuff that's like original, but also a lot of collective of stuff that they have done to form ideas and also just get inspiration for what to do in certain areas. So big shout outs to them.
On to Monkey Tree Room. There are 2 bokoblins we need to get rid of here after breaking the cage. Fortunately, we don't have to push them all the way to Trill.
No, that would take a minute.
Wonder if there's a
but we can use
spot
them
where
to
they
our
would drown in
advantage.
this room too. It's definitely faster just to use the Master Sword. They go down in 1 hit.
And then getting 2 blues from them as well as getting the synced hit stun effect on them. And another woodpecker. That was a fun fact. When you're jumping off those monkeys, Link's head actually detaches from his body for a frame, which was a fun surprise I saw when working on it.
Yeah.
So the reason we blew up those rocks was not because we didn't like them. We need what's behind them. We need Uku.
Okay, well, I didn't like them, so regardless, I'm still happy they were blown up.
Oh yeah, they're especially that bombling. It's really hard to spin attack that bombling. So I've lost plenty of time trying to get rid of those rocks before.
And then we're running around because the cutscene of the monkey jumping on there is longer than just walking around.
I think that monkey just hopped from midair.
Yeah.
He's cool like that. So now we're going to be doing, I think this is the first glitch that was ever found in Twilight Princess, to get to the boomerang early.
Yes,
Basically
this
all
was
the-
the first glitch posted to the Speed Demos archive forums. Though probably in a different spot in Forest Temple. Oh wow.
Yeah.
And there's going to be an extra midnight call here, and it's a frame perfect call, and what it's going to do is spin just the one bridge. I mean, you can kind of see it better on the other camera angle, but what it does, it spins one bridge, so you don't have to wait for the bridge to turn.
Yeah, no sword, so you can do that at rando.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
Now we've got Ook. Gonna have an optimal 2 hops there. Also a short throw. Nicely done.
Yep, and there's actually an even faster Ook you can get. And I actually finished Forest Temple and like gotten partway to Elden. I had actually gotten to Elden when Simi posted in a Discord like an extremely fast Ook example. So I'm like, okay. So I went back and redid Ook, and it didn't end up getting that one, but I ended up getting one that was like a second faster than the one I had before. But and redoing something in a task it's more involved than it seems like. You can't just like you can copy and paste inputs, but it's kind of convoluted and complicated in the way it works. But even if you do copy and paste your inputs, it doesn't take into account your RNG values, because if one little thing is different, your RNG will change. So in a lot of cases, if you copy and paste inputs, you can redo it to a certain extent, but then you still have to redo anything that involves RNG. So it's redoing something is not the best thing in the world.
Yeah, it's basically a commitment to also then redoing anything that revolves around the RNG at all in the game past that point.
Yeah, but now we're just going to Uku out because we have no more use for Forest Temple. But Uku Jr. here will prove to be useful again later on.
Yeah. Using Uku there saves about a minute compared to leaving the temple normally, and it's just an added bonus that we still need Uku Jr. later.
And that's to Seahorse Link.
Link E. And then out of this cutscene, there is a 1-frame backflip we can do. Following the route. And then I had to kind of take a weird arc there just to avoid the rolling back into the Ninja Trigger. But we're going to now make our way to Elden. That is our next thing to do right after doing Forest Escape.
Yeah, very fast Forced Escape there.
And coming up here, we got the mailman skip, because talking to the mailman is slower than just being like, well, why don't we use a long jump attack to jump over the mailman trigger.
Into Elden we go.
Yep, and this is going to be a pretty big, I guess, route variation from RTA, even with the bomb route. We are actually not even going to bother at all with this portal fight. We're going to just completely walk past it like it doesn't even exist, and instead do a trick known as Rupee Roll and then Gorge Skip in a way you probably have not seen done before in any run or any task. So use the Rupee, and then we can actually LJA onto this post, then LJA across the gorge here where the bridge is.
Interesting.
And I think this ended up saving 13 frames for me over doing the other version of that you would see at RTA or in the 90% task.
That's pretty cool.
Getting the fast gate clip there, just a bonk and dash through. Remarkably precise.
No, we didn't. I don't think I mentioned it on the first Shadow Beast fight, but what I'm doing there is trying to limit how many Shadow Beasts I target, and still hitting all 3 of them, because even if you kill all 3 of them with 2 attacks, if you target 3, Wolf Link is still going to complete that animation before starting the cutscene. And I gotta say, Elden Twilight, it might not look like anything too crazy. It took like a month and a half to do just Elden Twilight. There is a lot of annoying RNG in this section. Which the first bit you'll see is Keys LJA at the start of this area.
Also, working with the keys there to do the side hop. I imagine if you had gone to the usual side of the well, it would have targeted the keys and messed it up.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. And also doing this with 1 hit stun.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I know I talked with TheTasMaster a lot about that one, trying to get it with 1 hit stun. But I gotta give credit where credit is due on that one for sure. Because I don't think there's any RNG when it comes to the bugs. I think it's purely position based. So like it's just a kind of a get good thing for the most part.
Walking on this wall makes the bug come down to us.
I got an accidental super jump off of that bug. I think it tied to the frame beast task, so it didn't end up being faster, but it tied and it looked cool, so I kept it. And then going to the right side of this fence, save a bit of time. I think TasMaster timed it to be a frame faster than the sign jump.
A little bit of manipulation there to get the bug to jump down. Sometimes it can land on the upper ledge and then slow.
Nice yellow rookie pickup.
The inn was a very fun section of the task. There's a lot of very precise movement going on in there. And this was the one thing that probably took the longest to do in the entire task. That Keys LJA took about 2.5 weeks to do just that one. And then more bug pushing.
Yeah, getting the keys into proper position to do LJAs off of sometimes just is like that when tassing this game.
And another yellow
I also got the 69 rupee count there, so I made sure to get that.
Very nice, very nice.
Nice.
I like the bonk into the loading zone before getting the tier.
Now we have a bomb house skip, and this is very different from how we do it RTA.
All you need to do is defeat that bug before before it gets to the house, and yeah, that's one way to do it. Doing that other route, jumping back to the Barnes Bomb's roof, skips a little bit of text as well.
And then we'll get a lot of money in Watchtower. I think it was 22 rupees I got from this area. 22 or 23.
22 is right. Just a couple more bugs in the Twilight.
And a couple more bonks, apparently.
Yeah, I think it's very important, like, to mess around when you have downtime. Because there's a lot of times where you're just kind of waiting for an animation to happen or really whatever. And it's a good time to kind of do some really funky movement just to kind of pass time.
These brake slides look like messing around, these wiggle brake slides. They are not. They're actually just the fastest way to move.
And manipulating these shadow beasts was really annoying because they spawn in when the area loads in, and the area loads in actually quite a bit further than you would think. You're pretty far away when they spawn, so you have to redo a lot of it just to see if maybe you got good RNG. So it's a lot of redos there.
Getting the TAS cycle for the Steam as well.
And thing with midna charges, if you kill something with a midna charge, there's actually no hit stun effect at all. So when possible, I try to do a midna charge just to get rid of that hit stun.
Done with Elden Twilight now, so we can do something that we would have already done in any percent, but because we didn't have back in time, we weren't able to do this early.
Yeah, so this is going to be the start of the sequence of getting the iron boots. First, you have to go up and trigger this Goron's text, so that we can then go trigger the Epona wrangling in Kakariko, which is going to look just a little bit interesting.
Yeah, art in on console, this is actually kind of chaotic. There's a lot of like flashy textures, but for some reason on Dolphin, it's actually completely tame, and you just get to see the weird Wolf Link model on Epona.
Yeah, so right now the game is essentially trying to map Wolf Link's model to Human Link's animation data, which results in this. So it's trying its best.
And Wolf Link is like 10 feet above Epona, but is still managing to ride her, which is fairly impressive.
Truly a master wrangler. If you don't skip this cutscene, you can actually ride around as Wolf on Epona. Looks just
I'm just doing a little circle because I gotta wait for the cooldown to call midday again, because one of the downsides of not getting map warping is that I have to always call Bidna, and that is actually slower than opening the map to warp, but it ultimately saves time in the end. But now we're just gonna make our way back to Ordon to wrestle Bo for the Iron Boots. And hopefully I can get at least decent RNG.
That would be good, yeah. Yeah, interestingly, so Wolf Link actually has two different speeds that you can move at depending on the area you're in. Usually for smaller areas, or I guess for larger areas like Hyrule Fields, Wolf Link's movement speed is about 1.5 times faster. For some reason, that's also the case in Ordon Village, so like Wolf Link moves really fast in Ordon Village compared to in like Faron Woods and stuff for some reason. I guess they felt like Ordon Village was a large area that Wolf Link needed to move quickly in.
I guess so. And a slight difference from RTA. RTA, there's actually an orange rupee, which is worth 100, behind Russell's house, but I don't need to get it in the task, so I just didn't get it.
Yeah, there seems to be quite a few RNG rupees that you're getting. There is another 100 rupee later that's a little bit more in our way. I don't know if we'll be getting that one or not. Anyway, bow time.
Very good slap. An excellent push.
And holding L to save a few frames on camera panning.
Also, yeah, shout outs to the C-stick being on C-stick right for like the past minute.
Yeah, that's an instance where I just forgot that I used C-stick to... The C-stick was to, after transforming to manip Bow's RNG, and I just was very confident with that C-stick position, I guess, so I just stuck with it. There we go.
"45 minutes for Iron Boots."
Yeah, I don't actually know how that compares to world record or not. But now we're actually going to Uku back to Forest Temple because we have not gotten... Well, we still need to get Ending Blow. And we did not get the North Faron warp portal, so the only other way we have is using Uku and warping back and then warping out again, which will put you right outside Forest Temple. And I timed that out to be, I think it was like a little over 2 seconds faster to do this and skip the, and still skip the messenger fight.
Yeah, it's about 8 minutes faster than world record so far.
Would have been really funny if you just pushed one of the Bokos here for fun. Yeah, so the game requires that we get Ending Blow. Otherwise, it is not possible to deliver the final hit to Ganondorf. It is the sole requirement for the Ending Blow, at least as far as speedruns are concerned. Obviously, in a casual playthrough, the game forces you to get Ending Blow. But in speedruns, there are some cases of newer speedrunners like forgetting to go and get Ending Blow, and then being very sad when they arrive at Ganondorf and cannot complete the game.
Yep, I've done that once, and it's a mistake you'll make once and never again.
I have also done that.
I have also done that.
It would feel a lot worse getting to the end of a task and realizing you didn't get it.
That would be heartbreaking. And I could have gotten Ending Blow whenever, really, but with all the testing I did, doing it now just ended up being best for cursor movement on the map. So I was just trying to limit how much you have to move on the cursor, because unlike Wii, you can't instantly go to position on the map. You have to move all the way up to it, so that just ended up being the best spot to do it as far as that went.
Yeah, the only limitation on that is you can't get it after Midna's Desperate Hour, so after the Lakebed Temple.
Yeah, and I was very bummed about that, because it would have been very nice if I could have gotten it later in the run.
Yeah, the most convenient place you could put it in would be to when we leave Snow Peak.
Yeah.
But that's too late in the run to make it work.
And I did even experiment with getting the Arbiter's Uku similar to what the All Dungeons task did. And that way I could warp out of Snow Peak, but that ended up being... It was only a few seconds slower overall, so like... I think it was like 4 seconds slow... No, it was 3 seconds slower than what I have now. So even that wasn't that big of a difference.
Another
Another
gate
gate that doesn't exist.
I get some more rupees from this grass.
Very nice.
And yet another difference between this category and categories that can save and quit. We won't be going to Lakebed at this point, even though we have the iron boots and could do pillar clip. The entrance tunnel to Lakebed is too long. We can't get through it without either water bombs or the Zora armor. And it's quite difficult to get water bombs before entering Lakebed.
It's grass. Okay, so I'm immediately going to run away to these Zoras over here. That just helps get the Argorok to start flying around sooner than if you didn't. And we're going to attempt to lure the Argorok into the water as to try to drown the Bokoblin that is riding it. And for some reason, Bokoblins are hydrophobic, so they just die instantly upon touching it. So, but that's very nice for us as far as speedrunners go.
We'll be doing a little bit of a speed up on this flight as well. I assume at least. Using this ceiling to clip out of bounds.
So thanks for bringing out the map back for us so that we can see where we're traveling out of bounds.
Yep.
Yeah,
I definitely didn't do it because I didn't want to. Go ahead.
This saves time just because we're able to go in a straight line instead of going around that massive bend.
Yeah, as far as I understand it, the loading zone isn't just like a load zone. I think if I'm correct, it's just checking every frame for Link's I think it's a Z coordinate just to see if it's reached a certain position. And once he does, it just loads into the next area.
Yeah, that's correct. As far as I'm aware also.
And we'll be coming up on the one bend jump in the game that does not have a one framer for whatever reason. The devs just felt like programming that one specific one correctly for whatever reason. Another keys LJ.
You never really think about how many spots you could do a Keys LGA when doing RTA runs.
Yeah, they never really work out trying to do them RTA.
One is done intentionally on the Wii version, but never on GameCube. Essentially never. Another one there.
So one thing about wiggle break sliding is, you saw I was kind of turning it there, going up the slope after ascending Zora's domain. Wiggle break sliding is weird in the fact that if you don't have the camera behind Link enough, you pretty much drop all of your speed. So what you have to do is kind of turn your camera so that when you target, the camera stays enough behind Link that you don't drop speed. But like it's a very fine line between like what's a good C-stick position and what'll just drop a lot of speed to make it not worth it.
Very nice Goron dancing. I also like the spamming of B during that cutscene.
Taking a little bit extra damage there. On this rock that has been here a while.
Yep, it's been there. and we got a 1 frame jump attack, and we're actually going to be doing a little bit different from RTA. We're actually going to kill this bug now so that it is dead later on. And use it to do a Retellus cutscene skip.
It's so cool to see that done in a TAS. That particular strat was found quite a while ago on accident and very hard to replicate.
But now we got Linear Twilight, and a lot of people don't like it RTA. I actually found it a lot of fun to TAS. In general, I find wolf movement TASing to be pretty entertaining to do, so this having a lot of intricate wolf movement was very fun.
Did it take anywhere near as long as Elden Twilight?
No, it probably took maybe a week to do all of Linear.
A lot of Linear Twilight ends up being just running forward. But also a few bugs that will probably be pushed.
Nice dig.
Thank you. There was nothing there, but it was a very fun dig for Wolflink. We have a cool jump here.
Unfortunately precise. I'm sure I'm not the only one that has gone for that and landed in the water and lost half a minute.
And right there, I timed the warp so that you collect the tier the frame after you select yes, or the frame before you start warping away, so it saves a little bit of time.
Yeah, and then we have to do a Rutella skip here again because the trigger is still there.
Yep.
So this time we do it
unfortunately, we don't have... Unfortunately, we don't have claw shot here, so we have to do it pretty much the RTA method of doing it, but it still looks cool. And a small oversight I had here was jump attacking off of the ledge. I just wasn't thinking about it because you spend a lot of time in the water doing that, and it's kind of slow, but
Nice
small
double hit
things
there as
happen
well.
like that.
all the rupees.
Well, you can see on the map that there's actually no water showing on it. That is a result of skipping the Midna text after warping the meteor. If anyone is familiar with the glitchless TAS, I did not get the weird hop here. I don't know how he got it, but I did not get it myself.
Yeah, we'll just say it's a Wii only thing.
Yep. Works for me. And now there's a long section of wiggle break sliding. So wiggle break sliding, as I was talking about before, it's alternating between different ESS positions. So right down left, left down right, and so on and so forth. It's actually if you were to do that just by putting in the values manually, it would be a pain in the butt. It would take a long time. And I know Beast had to do that for his tasks, but TasMaster came up with an auto hotkey script idea that automatically clicks onto the positions, so you can just kind of map hotkeys on your keyboard to click to those positions, and it saved a lot of time when it came to tasking break slides in general.
I love the way that looks on the input display. Just a shaky control stick.
And it was a slight improvement over the other tasks. I was able to get it in just two. This was just 2 hits on the Shadow Beast. That was a few frames faster than the glitchless task, and I think the glitchless task was the fastest up to this point, as far as that messenger fight went.
Yeah, very nice. Here in Castletown, Wolflink's movement speed is significantly slower than usual, so it is actually faster to just do constant dash canceling instead of just running normally or break sliding or anything. Except for that one spot.
Got an LJA off of the bug. Or at least it looked like an LJA.
I accidentally got UMD there because I wasn't thinking about it.
Yeah.
So I lost a frame there on accident.
UMD, Universal Map Delay. Frame perfect alternating A and B to delay the pulling up the map. It will be quite useful later.
It's extraordinarily useful and important coming up in X amount of time.
Excellent song. I think that's my favorite
Thank you.
rendition so far.
Well, the bird recognized it, so must have been right.
I think Karg was one of my least favorite things to task, just because it's just awkward the way that the Argorok flies, as well as its wing hitboxes when they're extended outwards.
I feel like that should not have worked, but video game.
Yeah, the game says it's fine. I'll take it.
Getting an instant
Nice
look
job
and
getting
also
shot
getting shot
in
into
the
the
air.
water.
That was very good.
Just 2 more bugs left.
And I jump attacked that bug in a way that it took longer to collect. That way I had enough time to jump into the water. And that's just dependent on your... I'm pretty sure that's just position-based.
A few things we can do to speed up this fight. Mostly keeping the boss bug on screen makes it charge at us as soon as possible. And, we'll be doing a quick hit for 1 cycle.
Now going over to this platform. That's interesting. Very speedy.
And then bonking on the leg of Derek to skip the cutscene. And then we can use this raft to get a jump off of to collect the blood a little bit faster. I spent a lot of time trying to get the thing where you like get on the raft and then Wolf Link dives downwards, but I could not get it to save my life, so I just stuck with that.
Still a fast tier collection.
Yep.
And so what do we have coming up next in the route?
So now we are going to be doing, we're going to collect bombs. If anyone has paid attention to any general any percent advancements in the past year, 2 years, we have a new way of killing the Shadow Beast as Wolf without mid charge. And what that's going to allow us to do is get bombs in an interesting way.
Another little bit about the history of this category. Bombs were removed from this category in 2018 due to a strat that we'll be doing in a little bit. And it takes about 3 minutes RTA to get bombs. So we needed to find about 3 minutes of time saves for it to be worth it to get bombs again. And only recently has that become true again.
Yep, so if we talk to Isa and then walk in a way that we hit the trigger enough to allow the barriers to fall down, but not so much that we actually get trapped, and then we can transform behind the fence in order to do this fight as Wolf. But we don't have Min to charge, which you're supposed to have. But there's actually a very specific set of attacks you can do to kill it as Wolf without Min to charge. So that allows us to have Isa take us in.
Very quickly done there. I also really like that Isa has specific text boxes for being a wolf here, which you're not supposed to be. She chews you away and says, I can't remember what the text says, but if you don't want to end up like a rug, go away.
Yep, so we got one bomb bag. We're warping back up to, why am I blanking on this location? We're warping back here. I'm forgetting the name for some reason, but...
Upper Zora's River.
Upper Zora's River, thank you. And she's going to take us in again, and what that's going to do is duplicate the bomb bag that we already have, as well as give us a null item. I think that's in the bow slot, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yes, it is.
And you can see on the overlay, there's like a blacked out rupee. Whenever we open the item wheel again, you'll see that black rupee in that spot.
Another fun thing, when we transform here, you'll see boomerangs on both X and Y. Just another side effect of that trick.
Yeah, we love dual wielding the Gale Boomerang.
I only used the one on X though, so just so you guys know, I only used the X boomerang.
Alright, good. This is acceptable.
So, because we're not able to go into Lakebed and get through that first tunnel, we need either the Zora armor or water bombs, and it's faster to get the Zora armor. So we'll be doing the wagon escort starting in Telma's bar here.
Yep,
Yeah, I mean,
and
what would it take to go get water bombs before Lakebed?
You need the fishing rod, and then there's a grotto in North Elden, or in East Hyrule Field, I guess.
That
has water bombs that you can catch.
So coming up here, we're going to be doing KB2 skip. And we're doing it differently than from where RTA does it. We're going to do it in this corner here. That one is extremely precise. It's very precise on opponent's position and Link's position. And you have to use opponent's animation of her like rearing downwards after she rears back to push you out of bounds. So it's extremely precise and took a long time to get.
That's the trick I mentioned earlier that made it possible to beat the game without bombs. in this category specifically. Before we needed to use bombs to defeat King Bulblin on the bridge, and it was one of the most difficult parts of No Saving Quit back in the day. So now, a bunch of RNG rupee collection. Are you going to go through the lag patch over here on the right? This patch on console causes a bunch of lag for some reason.
Yeah, just using this time to get some money because we need a lot of it.
You mentioned bonus slides earlier. Coming up is a very important bonus slide.
Nice RNG minute for the yellow rupee from the Argorok.
That one took a while to get for some reason. It did not want to give me yellow, so I had to do a lot of different things for it.
We skipped everything related to the Gorge here, so there's no bridge. We can just bonus slide across. Got very good distance there. And then a couple LJs around some triggers.
Yeah, there's 2 triggers there. There's a Midna trigger. It says, hey, you forgot the wagon. And then there's a KB1 trigger, which now exists. So the first one is to jump over the Midna trigger, or it's just jump over the KB1 trigger. And then if you get past that, but still hit the Midna trigger, that trigger pushes you back into the KB1 trigger, and you're just kind of screwed in that situation. You just have to save warp and do the escort all over again.
The save warp in this good no saving quit TAS?
Yep. And when TasMaster redid this in his current new Hundo TAS he's working on, he thought of doing UMD here to save a little bit of time. And I wish I would have thought about it myself because it saved like 2.5 seconds or something. It would have skipped having to wait to call Midna, but unfortunately I did not think about it when I was at this point.
So now we have the Zora armor. That is the last piece of equipment we'll have in this game, in this run. Just the Master Sword and then the 2 tunics, and nothing else.
Yep, so now we're going to make our way to Lakebed Temple, and I'm pretty confident that nobody has seen... They're familiar with the strat, but they have not seen this method of entering Lakebed Temple. It has not been done in any other work, so definitely keep close attention to what's going to be happening here. It's very cool to watch. So we're going to take this rupee from atop Fire's hut, and we're going to use that rupee to do something known as a rupee dive to get down out of bounds so that we can get to Lakebed. And then putting on Zora armor, that way we can swim all the way to the trigger. And that saves a lot of time over doing a pillar clip with Zora armor because max swim speed with Zora armor, I believe, is 22. I think it's 20. And Wolf's dash speed is 45 there, so you are doing a lot of that movement as Wolf rather than swimming, so it saves time.
There is a variant of that done in some Wii routes, but I never even thought it could be done on GameCube.
And we got a little cool clip here. We can't go all the way to the chest because you can only clip up in certain spots, but that still saves some time over just taking the tunnel up normally. And then
another gate that doesn't exist.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do a bin detect skip. Shoutouts to Ekke for finding that one.
Five LJAs on one target.
And then we have a very precise double LJA coming up. So we do this one RTA, but in a task, we do it to where we don't actually end up clanking on the second one or on the first one, so that saves some time. It's a very specific, very precise spot you have to target, as well as be standing for that LJA. And then another really cool thing that was first shown off in a glitchless task, we are not going to LJA like we do RTA. Instead, we're going to use a couple of pots to push us across that gap, and that saves, I think it was 22 frames over the LJA.
You can just do a jump attack there?
It's stupidly precise.
Yeah, it's stupidly precise, but it is possible.
Yeah, RTA we would just do an easy LJA to get onto that railing, but
you can't do that before the rock blows up, and
right.
ends up losing a little bit of time to having to defeat the chews. Gonna do a
So
quick strat on Deku here.
Yep, we have bombs, so I'm gonna use 2 of them on this fight. This was a fight I was very excited to TAS, and I think it was because there's a strat RTA where you can boomerang the bomb into the tongue, because that saves having to do 5 hits on the tongue, but in a TAS you can just kind of time throwing the bomb so that it explodes in the first possible frame that it can take damage.
Unfortunately, this gate does exist, and we don't have a way through it without opening it.
Now we're just making our way back to the central room in order to make our way to Morpheal. I'm going to do a cool little side hop here. When jumping down, side hop speed is actually faster than normal jump speed, but the roll itself is slower, so in a lot of cases I'll try and, if I do side hop, it's because it's just ends up being faster.
The RTA strat there is a roll and then a jump slash, and the side hop also doesn't pull out the sword, so you don't need to put it away when you open the door. And then a very normal method for boss key skip there.
Yep, the only boss key skip in the entire game, because the load zone for the fight is linked to there's like that little hole you fall into rather than the door itself being open, so we can just kind of flip through the bridge. And we have a very cool strat coming at the start of this fight to skip a cutscene.
Yeah, we're also going to see, unfortunately, one of the rendering mistakes here.
Yeah.
This cutscene is going to very quickly play just at double speed, because Premiere Pro is cool, and then we're going to go back and watch the cutscene again properly this time. So that's not the game. That's just Premiere Pro being silly.
That's Adobe being Adobe. Should just use DaVinci.
True.
But with we can do a very quick 0 bomb Morpheal.
With frame perfect swimming, the task speeds up so quickly in the water.
And I made a silly mistake there. I didn't need to equip Lantern because due to having done all the Isa shenanigans, my equips are actually going to revert back to what they were before I started doing all that. So equipping Lantern didn't end up saving time there at all.
Yeah, and it will also fill our bomb bag with 30 regular bombs instead of the 7 water bombs we have now.
Yeah, bombs are not any concern of mine for the entire task. I don't know if I tried to use them whenever I could save time, and it gave me a few opportunities to save some time that would otherwise not do, just because normally they would not be worth it because bombs would save more time in other places. Yeah, the Morpheal cutscene is actually RNG. I didn't get the fastest version of it. I think it was like maybe a frame or two faster than the Hundo TAS, but or the glitch, one of the two TASes, one of the two newest TASes. But there's one that's like 2 seconds faster or something, and I spent many days trying to get that cutscene, and I couldn't get it.
Yeah, I mean, like, having to try and juggle the RNG of just Morpheal's movement during the fight already, and then hoping that you can also just get the movement during the end cutscene as well to be what you want for the fast death, just as... It's a lot to try and manipulate.
Especially... Oh, and now that we have... Oh, go ahead.
Okay, especially when the manipulation is just all trial and error. Anyway, as you were saying.
Yeah, I was just going to say, there was a question about the Black Rupee. That was a null item due to the duping bomb bag glitch that we did. But since we completed, since now that we're in MDH, that is actually completely gone now. And like Anna was saying, we now have 30 regular bombs opposed from the water bombs I had previously. So we're just making our way to back to Hyrule Castle to get a new Midna from the Midna store. Hopefully our warranty is not expired yet. We should be okay.
It's only been an hour and 21 minutes.
Very
or rather, an hour and 15 minutes since we met Midna.
True.
More dash cancels in here because the wolf speed is so slow here.
And we'll have some pretty cool movement once we get back down to the Tumbleless Bar area to enter it, as well as after we get kicked out, after they tell Beast to leave.
Yeah, fairly precise B attack there to get this wonky camera for the cutscene. Saves a couple of seconds.
Yeah, I think it's position based, and at full dash speed it's frame perfect. The B press is frame perfect, so. And I think it says 1.6 seconds over not doing it.
Around that.
We can B attack up into there.
Gonna do a precise jump here to skip climbing on a rope.
And unfortunately, it's not the version that TasMaster has in his whip that he posted recently. That is faster than that and is kind of insane. But that
doesn't
is
it skip the second rope as well, or something?
Yeah, it doesn't. It's just like a. It's weird. It's hard to describe, but it does.
That's the first of 4 poses we'll be getting in this round.
What if I told you I didn't get any more, and this was actually a low percent pass?
Well, you got the key in South Faron, so I wouldn't believe you.
He would call you a liar.
I'm off to a bad start already.
Or in Central Faron, I guess.
That's where you reveal that you actually skipped Ball and Chain also. This run is going to be very short.
Actually, yeah, I did SRM, so...
Just a wiggle break slide through the barrier.
Or the lantern, despite equipping it during Morpheal. Yeah, and this area is weird. Your max speed is 45, but it very quickly tapers off to a much lower value. So doing break slides can save a lot of time and preserve that speed.
as far as this tower goes, there's just a little bit we can do to speed it up. A couple of LJAs on the moment.
Yeah, that first bulldog, normally RTA we kill it because he is a sharpshooter and will almost always hit you on even from the top of the tower. But in a task, we can just manipulate it to where he doesn't do that.
Yeah, the TAS is so fast that it just makes that bridge cycle look normal. As in RTA, it can be difficult to get that bridge cycle before it goes down again.
Then right here, I changed my mind and tried to turn back, but it was too late.
You had to get your new Midna.
Yeah. And now it is time to... Unfortunately, we're not skipping the ball and chain, so we are going to make our way up to Snow Peak.
Oh, darn it.
And we'll get... Yeah, I know. Sorry to burst everyone's bubble, but we need the ball and chain.
Snow Peak isn't normally the next dungeon, and usually we use map glitch to get through the blizzard to go to Snow Peak early. But map glitch was patched out of the Japanese version, so we'll have to do something else, which will be quite familiar to those that have seen the TPHD runs recently.
Yeah, the trick that was discovered in a TAS finally gets to be done in a TAS.
True. Yeah, so normally map glitch makes it pretty easy to do early Snow Peak because the thing that prevents you from doing early Snow Peak is just essentially a bunch of loading zones, and map glitch on other versions of Twilight Princess will get rid of loading zones when you do it. So then you can just go past the loading zones and it's all good. But here, loading zones still exist because map glitch was patched on this version, so TGD is instead going to be doing the Wolfo super jump to get past the loading zones that try to block him here. So essentially just getting a Midna charge on the wolf and then using it to jump up and over the loading zone. And the other advantage of this is that normally if you do map glitch, you have to howl at the howling stone that's at this area to reload it, so that the loading zones come back for us to progress forward with. But because map glitch was never performed, we don't have to howl at the howling stone. So I believe this method of doing it is faster than the map glitch one in this instance because of that.
Yeah, in general, Wolfo Super Jump is faster. It just has that caveat of it has to be after MDH, so it's not... I guess in the current 80% route, it is faster, but before our current 80% route, it just wasn't possible. Wasn't possible 90% because we did Snow Peak before, but...
Yeah, I attempted to save about 10 seconds RTA on a really good Wolfo Super Jump, which is quite difficult to do on a good run.
Yeah, RTA is definitely not worth it just for 10 seconds as someone who does it in the HD version.
And right here we're doing a messenger skip with an LJA and then kicking the camera. So take that. And sadly no spiritual journey today. Maybe another time. So this task was done on Dolphin Emulator. And Dolphin has a cool setting that disables fog. And that was insanely helpful for tasking pretty much all of this Snow Peak ascent, as well as the snowboarding, because as you can see, you can't really see very well right now. So having perfect vision when tasking snowboarding is very beneficial, as one could imagine. And then when you are dumping frames, you can just disable that setting and it doesn't cause any desyncs. And I actually, for the creation of this task, I didn't have a single desync, which was really nice.
That
is really nice.
Modern task tools.
Yeah, you would not hear someone say that and say 2018 on default Dolphin.
Was this made on the Zelda edition or 5.0?
This is made on 5.0, version 2409, I want to say. And we have a cool jump after coming up here in a second.
That's way too far right, TGD.
Oh, shoot. Can I redo it? And another insanely precise jump. It's very easy to lose pretty much any speed you had going there. And then I need 3 hearts for damage routing reasons.
Yeah, wearing the Zora armor makes fire and ice damage do 10 times as much.
Yeah.
And this is the ice dungeon, and we have to take some damage.
Yeah, I'll actually end up taking off the Zora armor just because of how much damage we need to take and we'll end up taking.
Also, that floor doesn't exist.
Nope.
Somewhat new trick here, frame perfect drop from the ladder to make the freezer act like a normal freezer instead of the special one that sits on top of the ladder. I have to do it twice.
And then we can do freezer skip to flip past this freezer. There's an example where just getting past the door isn't enough. You have to physically open it in order to get to the next area, but fortunately we can open them from behind.
Using a bomb there saves little enough time RTA that it's essentially not worth it to equip the bombs, but it does save a little bit of time, so useful in the task.
Yeah. And to the keen-eyed viewer there, you may have seen the A prompt appear for a couple of frames. I actually collected the ball and chain like right as the cutscene was starting, like the frame before it started, so I will collect it instantly after the doors open.
Now, unfortunately, the freezer does do 2.5 hearts of damage, so that would send us into game over if we didn't equip the Hero's Tunic there. That was
I spammed a lot of buttons. Like pretty much every button was spammed, and that got a very fast ice break.
Yeah, it's like A, B, L, and R, and the control sticks all matter in how quickly it does it, or something.
Yeah, I just pressed every button, so I don't know which one ended up being a good one, but and then that is our last rupee for our rupee routing, so I will not have to worry about money for the rest of the run.
That's all we need to do in Snow Peak. No need to finish the dungeon because we can skip the next dungeon entirely.
Oh yeah, Andy, it ended up being the same for ice. I found when tasking it, using the other buttons to make a difference for.
I hope you like climbing ladders.
Climbing ladders is so much fun, especially in this game. There he goes.
18 seconds of climbing a ladder.
I bet this took super long to task. Like, this looks really impressive.
It was harder than the. It was even harder than the EMS fight or EMS puzzle, or the Master Sword puzzle rather.
Oh yeah, I would imagine so. But excellent job. Don't think it was even possible to do it any faster than what you did, so I'm very impressed.
Thank you. So I did try jumping off and pulling ball and chain to fall faster, but it ended up being slower in the end because it
Because of how
you spent more time. Yeah.
yeah, water movement being slow.
Yeah, unfortunately. It looked really funny when I did it with ball and chain, but sadly not fast.
It's very rare to see damage routing matter in Twilight Princess. Most runs are able to save warp out of areas. We can't do that, so in a couple of places it's useful to death warp. We will do a death warp in Arbiter's Grounds, so we'll need to drop a few hearts between here and there.
Yeah. Pretty much every damage I take from this point on, and any hearts I collect are 100% intentional and had to be planned out before time, because we will take a lot of damage before the death warp, and it ends up being more than just the 3 hearts that we have, so I had to get a little bit creative with where I got health and when I got health.
One nice thing about tassing is that you don't have to worry about lag in the game. Normally in RTA runs, we'd pan the camera down here so that we would reduce lag in the desert, but not necessary in the TAS.
That's another remarkably precise clip. RTA runs use the ball and chain to knock that first pillar down, but the TAS is able to just go straight through it.
And speaking of differences between RTA, RTA runs will normally just do map glitch here, but we don't have map warping, so we're going to get to KB in a different way, which is actually faster than doing map glitch anyway, so it works out well for us. So we can do an LJA bomb boost to get on top of the tent. And since air triggers expand infinitely upwards and infinitely downwards, and that triggers air triggers, we just need to get close enough to it to where it triggers the KB fight. And then 4 quick spins is all it takes for KB.
That's what he says.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And somehow managing to burn down this brick building. Except
fun fact,
this
if you-
fire is not dangerous at all.
You could sit there forever and it would never burn down. Not doing the bonk, unfortunately, because it saves or it loses a couple of frames.
I'll accept it in the name of speed.
Thank you. Alright, now Arbiters. Arbiters is an extremely entertaining dungeon to watch in a TAS. And it was fun to TAS for the most part, but it was also like a very good challenge as well. It's a cool little LJA to start things off.
Yeah, there are a couple of really cool tricks here in RTA that, well, I mean, a couple of them maybe shouldn't be RTA. They were originally considered TAS only. And there are even more that have been found for this dungeon. Lots of ways to speed this up.
Yeah, so as I'm sure a lot of people likely know, it is possible to skip having to collect the pose here to open up the gate, but it takes very long to do that. So this run is not going to be doing a rupee slide through the gate to skip the pose.
Unfortunately not. We want to go through the heartbreak that is pressing A and then clipping back out. So coming up is one of the, you're not going to see this RTA. It's a very non-RTA way of doing pull one skip. So do an ending blow bomb boost to get out here, and then we got to push this block for later.
Did the Moldworms get in your way at all doing that?
A lot of times, yeah. It took a very long time to get that. To do all this really took a very long time to do. Like, all the targets on the Moldorms was to try and target the correct one. Or was to try and target the bubble and not the Moldorms.
It's incredible that that's even possible.
Yeah, it isn't as insane as it looks. And then right here, I'm gonna use this time to get a little bit of health because I need some more.
Very nice. 2 hits on the Poe to skip the second cycle.
And a nice sniff.
Nice camera.
Nice ripping out of the Poe soul again.
You just gotta be sure, you know. I hate to miss it, and then you gotta sniff the Poe.
Yeah, so normally the game only checks to see that you've gotten the second, third, and fourth pose for opening the gate, so we've skipped the first one, and thankfully you can sniff any of the 4 pose to get the pose scent. So in this case, it's faster to skip the first Poe, go to the 4th one by doing the Poe 1 skip technique, and then additional TAS parkour in this case. And then sniff the 4th Poe for the Poe scent, which is required for opening up that sand pile with the chain right there.
Convenient place to transform while we're waiting for the cutscene to drop the stairs.
Yeah, getting that bubble to hit me off took an annoying amount of time, but it's nothing in compared to this next room that you're going to see as far as RNG manip goes. What we can do is have the bubble hit us right as we begin the ending blow on the Poe so we could run, and then we can do a 1-frame dash to get even closer to the door. And then as this cutscene is happening, the bubbles are pushing us even closer. So we're basically right next to it after the whole thing is done. And then we got
fancy form of speed rat there.
Yeah, it would probably take like a week to get Poe 2 RNG done. It took a long time, but it was one of the less painful ones to do, just because it's very obvious when you're making progress with it, or like when something happens.
So we're going through this area the wrong way. Normally we'd have to avoid some ghost rats in that room, but without getting the small key there, there's no need.
So I took a half heart of damage on purpose there, and then collected one so that I was at 1.5 hearts. So that all that damage was routed intentionally like that.
Yeah, we'll need to be at about half a heart or a quarter of a heart when we get to Death's Sword. So there are a couple more places where damage is optimal.
Yeah, so
I tried getting that Badamja, but the couple times I got it, it wasn't fast.
Yeah, the Stelkins, like, I don't know what it is, but it's very difficult to get them to actually hit Link there while he's like pulling out the foe soul.
Yeah, I know I tried it. I think Beast tried it. I know TasMaster did. I'm sure Ekke did as well. So no one's been successful yet, but it might be possible.
Very fast clip to get the boss key early.
And then some very cool human movement.
Guessing you're gonna go just for a single break slide here to get across the sand.
Sure am. Now, if we time this last roll, we can actually roll through the gate and fall into the sand. That just gets us that much closer to the claw shot target. And with Death's Sword, you're actually going to see, with a strat that Beast was testing with the glitchless task, but wasn't fast enough for his bomb count. But since I have infinite bombs, basically, it's fast. So at the start of this fight, I'm going to throw a bomb and then transform into Wolf. And I'm actually going to use the bomb to deal some damage to Death's Sword. And that ended up saving, I think that saved 9 frames over the glitchless tasks.
Careful not to get that heart. It would really mess things up.
I made sure to really pawn the heart.
That's one of the strats that, when it was found, was considered to be TAS only, but it's been incorporated into RTA runs. And we can't save warp out of here, so it's fast to just death warp. Saves about 20 seconds RTA.
I tried to get to where I would die on the chest, because that would be faster. But the one time I got it to where I would die in the chest, it ended up losing time, so I just had to stick with that. And again, since we can't save warp, we just have to walk all the way through this rune normally. But it's pretty entertaining to watch, just because it's pretty smooth movement, but nothing too crazy.
I don't know that most people would say this is the normal way through the room. Especially just doing a roll there.
True.
To get onto the ledge. Yeah. Nice grab onto that rail. Not even hesitating for this. That last spinner rail can really ruin your day. The spinner enemies are on different cycles, so it's hard to figure out exactly when to go.
The weird thing about getting on that last spinner rail before getting to the socket, I made sure to angle myself more left before getting on because your angle locks as soon as you get on the spinner. So if I would try to do that 1 frame roll without changing my angle prior to getting on the ledge, I would have not gone in the direction I wanted to.
LJA, they're a little bit faster than the normal spinner movement.
Yep, and then we'll see Rachel's special after we raise this section. And now we're going to fight Stallord, surely?
Oh yeah, definitely.
This was one of the big things that made it possible to save time with bombs. Coming up.
Yeah, so we're not gonna fight Stallord. Instead, we're gonna yoink this guy over here and use him to clip out of bounds. So, bye-bye.
That is way faster than we do RTA. That's getting the angles instantly is very impressive.
Yeah,
And
so
coming up here is going to be a really cool strat with a bomb. If you look at, and you can see in the left-hand side, there will be like the cam, so you can actually see the bomb and also the shadow beast that is, the bomb is eventually going to kill. So we'll kill these ones with our sword, and then the bomb blows up the other one.
Now, one of the reasons I looked into this bomb route originally was because Japanese just can't warp away here. On other versions, on NTSC-U and PAL, you're able to zoom in on the map and warp away, but that doesn't work on Japanese for some reason. So Stallord Skip actually saves more time on this version than other versions. Because it stops that meta text from coming up entirely.
it's interesting. I didn't know that the map zoom in was also fixed on JP.
Say hi to the kids for a minute. Hi, kids.
Hope the kids are doing well.
They've been just kind of hanging out for a while, so I think they're pretty good.
Right side early sitting.
And then the very not possible version of warping the cannon, we are doing UMD. So, as we just talked about earlier, calling Midna to warp and then delaying them warp by alternating between A and B frame perfectly. And I think it's like roughly 3 seconds of alternating before you stop to allow the warp to show up. And that is very not RTA viable.
Yeah. And ultimately, it's one of the things that also allows for skipping, having to fight the Shadow Beasts back at the Kakariko Gorge.
Yep, without doing Temple of Time, it's what gives us that ability. And we're going to give him 300 rupees to fix the cannon.
This is the only thing we need rupees for in this run, which is quite nice.
Unless you're playing on French, then you don't need any rupees.
Yeah.
But it's not faster, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So if anyone is familiar with City and TAS's, you probably know what trick is going to be coming up here pretty soon. But there are some also just general differences to some the previous GameCube tasks.
This is a really nice place to have more bombs than you need. Love the Uku's reaction just being question mark exclamation point there on Japanese.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess Eek is not directly translatable between languages.
Managing to avoid the wind entirely.
Yeah, so wind RNG for city for the entire dungeon is determined before you enter it, like when you enter the dungeon, which I didn't realize, so I'm going to have some a little bit less than favorable RNG in the next area, but it wasn't really a big deal. I just had to do it slightly differently from the other tasks.
Transform Wolf there to open that door from further away than human, and that skips activating a trigger.
Yeah, we also did not go and get the City in the Sky small key that is normally necessary to open up this locked door here. And that's because we're not going to be opening up that locked door. We're instead going to be opening up the door that's beneath it, which is not locked.
And using this Baba to give me a heart because I need a heart, so that was annoying to manipulate.
Baba was really trying its best.
Yeah, so the wind blew here, but it didn't end up being that big of a deal.
Wow.
So I think I'll let Jib explain this since you were the one that discovered it ultimately.
Yeah, who likes rearranging level geometry? So this is the City in the Sky small key skip, which takes advantage of many instances of clawshot actor displacement, which is a glitch that occurs when you clawshot something that normally should pull Link to it, but then Link falls while in a certain part of the animation for clawshotting it, and instead it'll cause the thing that he is clawshotting to get pulled to him. So in this case, we do a couple instances of that to place these pillars in specific spots so that we can bomb boost up and skip the small key in this dungeon, which ultimately saves about 50 seconds.
That was so hard to TAS. It's words don't describe how hard that is, even if you're just TASing it, so. There's a reason no one's done that version RTA yet.
There are a lot of tricks, tests, that were discovered for TAS that eventually make their way into RTA runs. That one is far too precise to expect that to happen.
Yeah.
Though there is a version that's done if you have a bunch of hidden skills.
If anybody ever does the version without hidden skills RTA, you get $100 from me.
Also sideways climb here to go upwards. Very cool.
Perfect timing to land right on the edge of that platform. And having to wait a little bit for this fan. Nice.
And the reason I needed so much health is for a jump coming up in this next room that's going to take 2 hearts of damage.
Now we're going to fight the Aralthos.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pretty cool fight. Pretty involved.
I hope you don't die. That would be
I,
unfortunate.
I improved it over the glitchless TAS, even if you can believe that. It's a lot faster. And now we're going to do Death Warp.
Precise claw shot to get through there. In RTA runs, we take long enough on that claw shot that it's faster to just have the Aralphus hit you on the other side to Death Warp. But with the TAS, it seemed like he cancelled a little bit of the animation with landing on the chest too. Quite nice.
Yeah, that's what I tried to do in Goron Mines. Not Goron Mines, wow. In Arbiters, but I couldn't get it.
Goron Mines Pog.
So, who remembers this part of the dungeon?
I do.
This is
That's not a lot, actually.
part of the dungeon that exists.
If I remember correctly, it's not that much slower to go back this way than to save warp. But it is a little bit, so it's definitely worth it to save warp in categories that we can.
And some pretty funny claw shots here on this section, underside of this walkway. Gonna get our head bitten off by this Baba. Another sideways climb.
Double hand
And then,
grab
of
as
course,
well.
getting all the 200 grabs. Yeah, those are just RNG.
So because we entered this room when we started the dungeon in a specific way, the fan up here is not active, so we can just come up here and get the boss key early. Also doing the newer high clip, which is very cool. Skips having to go outside.
It also skipped having to do a jump slash there by, I'm guessing, doing a frame perfect A press.
Yeah, you have to delay the A press by a couple of frames, so because like as you latch onto it, Link sways a bit, so you want to time it to when Link starts swaying to the left, so that you actually fall far enough left to just barely land on the ledge. And then fan skip, a very cool double LJA here.
Now we got the TAS tower climb path.
Yeah, all these claw shots are in very specific spots on the fan. So we can get from this fan all the way up here, and this claw shot is frame perfect and pretty precise with your aim. Then after this we have Rob Shot, which is a claw shot all the way up to the top of the vines. And one thing I'm a little bit bummed about is I know it's possible to get a double hand ledge grab at the top. But no matter what I did, I could not get to grab the top ledge, no matter what I did, so that's what we ended up with. This killing
Watching
time
the
while we
control
wait
stick
for...
during that, yeah.
We have time to kill while while Argorok flies around, so we can just kill some time. Staying on the outskirts so that she doesn't do her sweep attack. And then we can do a quick re-grab. and then making sure not to cool game. Yeah, so with Argorok, for a while it was thought to be just like the normal, pretty auto-scroller fight. But when Beast was doing the glitchless tasks, he found some optimizations. And by basically making Argorok roar sooner, which unfortunately I couldn't do it for the first phase just because it requires Wii aiming, because Wii can aim a lot faster than GameCube can. But I was able to do it on the second phase, so you'll see like a faster version than RTA on phase 1, but not as fast as early roar would be. Avoiding out to reset the fight.
Yeah, it gets Argorok in a little bit better of a position sooner. We will need to have two hearts to land on the bridge, leaving city. That takes 2 hearts of damage, so we'll probably need to grab another heart at some point.
Yep, we will certainly have to heal ourselves a bit. Yeah, so the correct earlier roar would not have had to do that last claw shot I did, but that was the fastest I was able to get it with our limitations.
Yeah. A running slash and getting that one running, that's still pretty fast.
Yep, so there we got Argorok to roar a lot sooner than normal. And then from here we just have 2 claw shots that we have to do before we can claw shot onto her back.
I believe if you get hit by Argorok's flames here with the Zora armor on, it deals like 20 hearts of damage.
Yeah, it would.
Hopefully you won't do that.
Might be a bit of a time loss, yeah.
He says it's 10.
I'm going to do this phase a little bit differently because she tries to fake you out, but you can put on the iron boots to make her turn sooner, and then take them off to make her stop shooting flames. But thankfully did not get the that weird Argorok crash where she just kind of disappears from existence. Or I got soft locked.
Just 2 dungeons left.
Yeah, so next up is Palace of Twilight. Thankfully for the speedrun, Palace of Twilight, despite in the lore requiring the entire Mirror of Twilight to access in practice, only requires the City in the Sky Mirror Shard, because that's just the only one that it checks for, so means that we don't have to beat Snow Peak Ruins or Temple of Time to get to the Palace of Twilight. It is also why early City in the Sky is such a big sequence break for Twilight Princess.
Mashing B to do a jump attack, or a jump slash there to land on the bridge, and not clanking, saving just a little bit extra time. We are entering Palace of Twilight on 1 heart of damage, and RTA, it's quite scary to do that. It's very easy to take damage in Palace, but I'm sure the TAS will have no problems.
I don't actually remember how health goes for the rest of the task. And we're also getting to the point where the whips stopped. So the last work in progress ended at the end of City. So this is all fresh for everybody.
Unfortunately, we don't have any massive sequence breaks in this dungeon. The invisible wall blocking us from going to the north section is just a little bit too big for us to get around. So I'm pretty sure the TAS will be getting all 7 small keys in this dungeon.
Yeah, this dungeon is basically beat some Zant heads, get a small key, progress to the next room, rinse and repeat. Also, fight Phantom Zant and bring back the orb.
Yeah, it's just trying to kill enemies as fast as possible to progress to the next room, basically. You can do some really cool strats with it, so it's not like boring by any means.
Unfortunately, we can't do all dungeons, no doors.
True.
Yeah, getting all the way to the chest there with the spawn you got is quite precise.
And this is one of my biggest bummers about Palace. I tried so hard to get the center spawn on this Zant head, but with just the way this wing works, there's not a whole lot that calls RNG. So there's not a whole lot you can do to manip RNG. So all you can really do is redo the first room and then redo the rest of it over again to try and manip it. But I got it still pretty quickly with one cycle that will do, but slight unfortunate side effect of just the way that this works. And the start of each of those attacks is frame perfect. And now, if you're familiar with the other GC tasks, normally you would put the soul in the socket, but we're not going to do that. We're going to do something a little bit differently. So we're going to use this pot to do a pot push, and then claw shot it over.
That's funny. I've not seen that before.
I had to do an extra target just because I couldn't aim up to the claw shot fast enough, whereas the glitchless task just did one target, just threw the boomerang, but
I did
still
not
saves
know that there were claw shots up there, claw shot targets.
Yeah, neither did I.
Yeah, that was something Beast came up with glitchless tasks, and then it was a little bit different with GameCube just because we can't aim nearly as fast.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely faster in general because it skips the whole hand waking up animation in that room.
Yeah, and it skips the cutscene of the stairs rising. And then, of course, we don't want to get hit by any squeebles or babas going up because that would be slow.
Yeah, any hit will drop the soul.
And then timing that so we get the LJA off just before the cutscene starts.
And the cutscene on the platform not lighting up.
Yep. Very good cutscene. This room is very cool. RTA is stupid. We call this pretty well known as stupid room, but in a TAS it's very entertaining to watch. can do a little LJ here. And all that does is just gets us over there sooner so that the Zant head can spawn sooner. And we can just barely make it to this platform.
Another 2-target Shadow Beast fight there. Not quite able to get...
Yeah, not quite enough time to get the next shot in there.
There are several ways to get to the door after the small key, and turns out just claw shotting is the fastest way.
Yeah, so on this phase, I did get the center spawn for Phantom Zant, so he'll be right next to me when we spawn in.
Yeah, also, this one cycle that's being done right here is really RTA viable because each of those, I believe it's the start of each of those combos has to be done frame perfectly.
Yeah.
A couple of runners have done it RTA. I don't know if anyone's done it in a run, though.
I know relatively recently, Cass was getting like double hits on Phantom Zant, and then that turned into people trying to do the TAS strat RTA, and there were some successes, but I don't think anyone got to be like consistent with it yet. This next room is pretty cool. When throwing the soul, I'm going to throw it in such a way that after the cutscene of the stairs rising, there's another one right after it, and I leave one frame in between so I can get an extra roll over.
That's a room that's pretty hard to speed up, so that's really cool to see, actually.
Here it's very slightly faster to LJA to the end and then claw shot the orb back up with us.
And it's actually slow to void out, so we can just roll stab this guy over here.
Capital D colon. So that gets us the light sword, which, if we could get past the invisible wall, we wouldn't need it, as long as we had a soul with us. But it's useful to get rid of the fog waterfalls and light up the orbs in the second half of the dungeon. The only other use it has is the shadow beasts outside of the dungeon now only take one hit, but we aren't going to fight any more of those. I suppose they also only take one hit inside the dungeon, and we will be fighting a couple more of those.
Yeah.
Anyway, this room is cool.
It sure is. Teased it in the trailer, but you can actually see what all the seemingly random targets are all about. This is key super jump, and what does this? Skips the 2 souls. And that it's not that hard to do RTA, but it doesn't save that much time, and there is a lot of RNG with it, so most people don't really go for it as far as regular PB attempts go.
Yeah, it saves about 2 seconds if I remember correctly. Was that claw shot just to change the angle of the break slide?
Yeah, it was just a turn and face the chest.
Huh.
It doesn't waste time opening the chest, so it was a funny way to change my angle. So this first claw shot up through the smoke, a lot of people have talked about having a lot of hard time with it. This is one of the things that I got it within like 5 minutes of doing it. Like, it did not take long at all for me to get this claw shot for whatever reason, so I guess I got lucky on that at least. But it's still it is a pretty precise claw shot nonetheless.
These Kargroks can only hit you while the platform's rising, and then right when the platform turns.
Very precise LJA right there.
Yeah, LJAs only work when the boomerang is over a void or over ground that is higher than you. There's a lot of geometry below what we can stand on here, which makes those LJAs quite annoying.
Yeah, in general, LJAs and Palace are just kind of weird for that same reason of there being a lot of extended geometry out of bounds. We got early platform room, which will be done slightly differently than how we do RTA. We'll be trying to make a slightly different cycle.
Oh, okay. Oh no, we didn't get the heart. I was bamboozled. Oh, is that
a little bit of target storage?
Yeah. You have a lot of chances to mess around on here, so I made good use of it. And purposely delaying killing this Zant head, so that I still make the platform cycle, but I make it in time that I can kill this Zant head before it teleports away.
Ah, I see. That's pretty smart.
And then we can do a cool jump after getting the small key.
Do not try this at home, it won't work.
Yeah.
It's not very hard, but it only saves a second. So if you waste a second setting up for it, you're not saving time, so...
And it's not quite a convenient angle. You can't just hold down left or something. the main part of Palestine. On to Zant.
For a little piece of trivia on the French version, this little bit of text is a big reason why it's slow. For some reason, it just stays up for like a second or two. And I don't know why, it's just a weird version difference, but it takes a very long time. It's not instant text, it's like the Ganondorf text you get at the end of the game. But on first phase, we can actually do a one cycle.
Yeah, normally in this fight, you need to finish 2 combos. But there are ways to trick Zant in the first couple of cycles, or first couple of phases.
And then we can do that same one cycle on phase 2 here.
I believe it's frame perfect in the first phase, and then 2 frames for the second.
Yeah. The fish shoot dance.
Yeah, this phase involves a lot of waiting.
And getting off to the side so that we can get a little bit closer for the claw shot. And then I'm taking off iron boots and starting to swim now. That way I can get to max swim speed right away. That way I can get to the position or the Zant head sooner. Because at a certain point the spawn is determined, so I can get right up close and claw shot him before he has a chance to shoot any balls at you.
Yeah, the Zant head will always be the furthest one from you, and it's really nice that with good swim speed we can get to it without it even attacking us.
That was an interesting knockdown with the ball and chain there.
Yeah, the instant cancel. Of course, the only required use of the ball and chain in the run is for this phase of Zant.
This phase was so not fun to TAS. Dealing with ice physics, RTA is already not fun. Dealing with it in a TAS is just annoying. But timing it to hit it at like the last hit of the attack, because he's invulnerable for a certain amount of time. And then this last phase is insanely quick. It's only a few seconds long, so blink and you'll miss it. Intentionally hitting with the last hit, and then quick spinning him into the fence to make him spawn away sooner.
Dang, no iron boot strat.
Nope.
Yeah, that spawning away to only need to do the one hit is clever. Done with Palace at
Now all that's
220.
left is all that's left is Hyrule Castle and the final boss. So we will make our way over there. And something I'm really bummed about is the fact that this is no save and quit. It's a cool category and all, and I enjoyed the task, but there was a new way of doing, or there was a way of doing mid-text or the squid in a cutscene skip that was discovered that uses a trick known as IWD or item wheel delay. Same premise as UMD, but with the item wheel, and it basically just allows you to delay the item wheel pull, and then you can save warp pretty much whenever. So you would do IWD from Isa all the way to the Squidna cutscene, and then once you're in it, you would save warp out, and it would save, I think it saved 25 seconds, timed it out to be. But I can't save warp, so I couldn't do it in this task, which was a slight bummer, but when the new 80% task is done, it will be in that one, so you have that to look forward to.
I believe we could also skip it by dying on the frame we enter the cutscene, but there's no way to do that. Unfortunately, we can't pull bombs in Castletown.
Yeah.
Guards will get angry for some reason.
I can't imagine why.
I think the only item you can pull out in Castletown that we have is the lantern.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Which means it's bonk and cutscene for us.
Yeah, so it's like a 2.5 minute cutscene or something. It's very long. It's the longest unskippable cutscene without inputs in the run, so it's a good bathroom break if you need to go before the end of the run. Or to get up and stretch your legs or whatever you want to do in 2.5 minutes.
I'm glad Zant went and got the few shadows from Forest Temple and Goron Mines for us.
That was pretty
he's a
nice of
guy
him,
like
yeah.
that. And a cool thing about this this cutscene, on the Wii and HD versions, you can actually see the barrier crumble, whereas it just kind of fades to white on GameCube. With some cool lens flares. So in a task that could save and quit, at the start of the dungeon you would actually see them take the east wing. But because I can't save and quit, it ends up being faster to do the west wing.
$17 bombs left, and this will be one of the, let's say, 4 optimal uses in Hyrule Castle.
I couldn't think of a clever way to like speed up that fight. I tried like using a bomb and ringing it into the ground and stuff like that, but I couldn't actually get it to work out at all. So I just kind of had to stick with a slight variation of the RTA strat. But we can do a cool chain cancel on this one to get a roll.
Yeah, it is possible to skip that barrier with a long jump attack, but because we can't save warp, there isn't a convenient way back. I think one might have been found recently. Anyway,
I also
King Bullet
tried
fight.
Yeah. I think Beast had like I was asking for ideas on it, and yeah, death warping was a few seconds slow to Beast, but I did time that out and it was slow, unfortunately. Prince had an idea to death warp during the one frame back, like the one frame you have control of Link after this text, but it was slow.
Yeah, I mean, the save warp here already doesn't, at least on this side of the courtyard, doesn't save a whole lot of time as it is already, so...
There's also an idea to do an ending blow moon boots on a Bokoblin to get out of the barrier, but I couldn't get that to work either.
I don't know if I've ever seen that on that barrier. I've definitely seen it on this inside one, though, which we're going to completely skip. With a side hop.
And we'll do skip the second chandelier by claw shining right to this one. It's RTA viable, but it's precise, so you really only see it in like rando or something.
Or eventually the day that early Hyrule Castle happens.
Or that. Yeah, a bunch of seemingly random targets, but what this is going to do is basically, right as the cutscene ends, it's going to put out that lantern, which raises this last step.
A little faster route through the lantern puzzle here. A little tighter than the normal strat, which just swaps the first two.
So for this Arrowfoes fight on the outside, the glitchless TAS did a weird thing. So like when you cancel the ball and chain, there's actually a weird hitbox in front of you as you're putting it away, and that deals damage. And I tried to get the strat that he did, but for the life of me, I could not get the strat. So I think it's only like 12. I think it said 12 frames, but I couldn't get the. I couldn't get that super fast strat.
Time for one more unskippable cutscene.
Yeah, we can meet all the friends we made along the way.
Good thing they take out these Boblins for us, because we don't have the bow, so...
And if that fire arrow had hit Link, it would have been at 10 times damage because of the Zora armor. So, good thing they stopped that one too.
Yeah, I don't have a shield, so there's no way of blocking it.
Alright, now we got the final climb. Always fun to watch in a TAS.
It's very satisfying to do RTA as well. Like, you can imagine the same for TAS. Nice clank.
It's time to do some cool sword twirls, because it takes a bit for each of the barriers to despawn here. Or just skip this one, I forgot that this was a thing.
And then claw shotting, and then L sliding into the claw shottable range of the ribbon.
Just the final fight left.
Alright, hopefully Zelda's nice. we don't get
Hopefully.
15 cycles.
Yeah, so the Zelda's first phase is determined as you enter it, so that weird camera angle is just RNG minute. And then all the RNG minute I did during this fight was just done RTA with the controller. I just did a bunch of random stuff until it was fast. So, like, this is just all controller input.
Yeah, because there's actually there's quite a lot of RNG that happens here. There's RNG in how many cycles the fight takes, which obviously we want it to be 7. There's RNG in what attacks Zelda does during the non-energy ball phases, which we all want to be charge attacks because the charge attack is faster than the triangle attack. And then there's also RNG in how long Zelda flies around between cycles, which has to be manipulated to be as close to as short as possible.
And for the jump attack ones, I'm actually jump attacking her instead of like taking the damage because one, I don't have a shield, so I can't just like, get hit that way. I'll take damage. But I think it's actually faster jump attacking her because you collide with her sooner than if you were, even if you had a shield. And I think that's when the next phase starts, so that saves a little bit of time versus taking it with your shield.
Glad we got a 7 cycle. Bit of a map. Doing some precise attacks here to do the most possible damage. That'll speed up the 3rd cycle of this fight.
No, so Zelda can't just fly around infinitely. Basically, unlike other fights in the game actually chooses a specific number of cycles that Zelda's going to fly around before she shoots the next energy ball, instead of it just being like a chance that's rolled once every cycle to determine what happens.
And then we can time this to grab B-Scan right as he comes out of the portal. And the RNG
Almost
for that
beat
is
him
actually
to it.
kind of weird. But now we just have horseback and one-on-one sword fight. And horseback is pretty cool in the TAS. Since we already know where he's going to be, we can just get with him right as the gets hit with the thing, and then a very quick horseback phase.
Final phase of the fight is fairly simple. Just need to get Ganon to kick and do an auto spin times. And then hope that we remembered to get ending blow.
There's 1. There's 2. And there's 3. And
that is time.
GG's.
GG.
Finishing
Final
with,
time is a valid bomber's code.
yeah, 24351.69.
Nice.
Nice.
Of course,
So there
the
was
official
a-
task time will be like 12 minutes more than that because of
Yeah.
the text on the credits, but
would be just under 3 hours, because task starts from console boot up to final input. But so there was when I released the trailer, there was a Google form sent out for guessing the final time, and somebody was 5 seconds off with their guess. Someone by the name of Metric. Sorry if I'm butchering their name. They guessed 2:43:56 was their final guess. So they were very close with their, and there were a lot of close guesses as well. There are multiple high 243s and low 244s.
Yeah, so how do you feel now, having completed and revealed the TAS TGD?
I kind of miss not having the task to work on, because that was what it was what a lot of I spent a lot of time on it. So like, it was done in 7 months, but which like, if you compare it to other tasks, it's like relatively quick, but that was pretty much what consumed a lot of my time. So not having the task to work on is kind of weird, but it's going to give me more time to actually start running RTA again here pretty soon. Been de-resting and practicing Hundo, so I want to start speedrunning RTA again, because I haven't really ran the past half a year, 8 months or so.
Yeah, tassing does take an incredible amount of time and effort, so, GG's once again. You think do you think you might end up throwing your hat back in the ring for another task in the future, or do you think this is it?
Oh, I'll definitely task more. There's a few extended categories that seem kind of fun. I thought about doing any percent new game plus any percent. Could be pretty cool with having all the hidden skills and everything. It'd probably be a bit before I do a full game category, or a normal full game category, but I'd be lying if the thought of Hundo Plus, if a Hundo Plus task did not cross my mind at some point.
Oh boy.
That would be it.
That would be quite something.
What are the extra things that you have to get in Hundo Plus?
Anna's the expert, so I'll let him explain that one.
The biggest thing is you need to open all the chests.
Okay.
But there's also, you have to do all the fishing, you have to save Giovanni after getting all of the pose, you have to finish Cave of Ordeals, complete the map, and a couple other requirements that I'm forgetting at the time. It's a fun category. It's about 2.5 hours longer than Hundo.
That definitely sounds like it would be difficult to TAS, just because I assume it doesn't count if Link puts the rupee back into the chest.
No.
Yeah, that category ends up getting the magic armor really early so that you can waste rupees.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah, don't expect that anytime soon. I'll say
No,
that.
yeah, that sounds like that sounds like maybe a couple years away.
At least.
If
I do
you
want to task some more, but I'm going to be on a tasking break for a little while I do some RTA stuff, just because it's been a while since I've used a controller to play the game.
Didn't you use it in the Zelda fight? Didn't you say
You
that?
know what? You're not wrong. You are right. Besides that, it was all task input. Besides Zelda. But I guess if anyone has any general questions that we may not have seen during the run, or may not have gotten to, or just general questions, feel free to ask away.
These credits are about 16 minutes long, so we have time.
Yeah, we still have about 11 minutes left on the video file. And yeah, I guess for anyone who might be watching on the YouTube upload, the current world record for the no save and quit category is a 3:05:36. So this is over 20 minutes faster than that.
Yeah, when I set up making the tasks, I didn't have like a big goal time. My main goal was just to beat the RTA any percent world record, and I guess that ended up not being very close to it because I didn't realize how fast the end game was for a task until actually doing it and then seeing the final time.
It's probably possible to get it down to 302 or 303 RTA, but
Yeah.
sub 3 is just a little out of the question.
Question from chat: which section of the run had the most re-records? If you remember.
The first, if we're counting the first, when I first started, the first like 4 or 5 minutes had a lot, like just because I was so new to tasking and redid a lot of sections. Let's see. So the keys LJ and Elden Twilight took a while, but wasn't a lot of re-records just because I had to put a lot of time into it every day because it's soul draining manipulating the same RNG over and over again. So it's probably either pull one skip or probably smallest key skip probably takes the cake for that one. Just because I spent probably 40 hours in total tasking just that trick, and there are a lot of inputs going into it, and each one of them was basically frame perfect, so I had to probably small key skip.
Yeah, that makes sense. Small key skip. I remember when I tasked small key skip like 7 years ago. It was basically like an entire day activity.
Yeah,
that was after I had figured out how to do it.
I spent a lot of time. I was asking Ekke, TheTasMaster, Jim, asking in this Discord just questions about it because there were a couple small things that did not want to cooperate, but ended up figuring out in the end, and I'm glad I did because it's a very cool trick to watch done.
I'll see. I guess was there anything discovered while the task was being made that would have saved time to do, but like for one reason or another you weren't able to like go back to do or couldn't incorporate in the route?
I can't think of a specific trick off the top of my mind, but there are a few uses of UMD that I just wasn't thinking about that would have saved a few seconds. There was that one that I talked about after getting Zora armor. You could also do UMD after the Zora's domain warp portal. You can do UMD there to save some time. But I don't think there was like a major trick that was found that would have saved that would have been like game changing.
Yeah, I don't remember anything particularly like significant being found over the past like I guess 8 to 9-ish months that would have
Yes, it's starting it.
That would have been like significant for no save and quit.
There are definitely things I wish I could redo, like in the first like half hour, 45 minutes especially. I was still very new to tasking at that point, so some of the stuff is, I guess, by my standards now, after completing an entire task, are not as good as I could do now, but I can't really hold that against anything just because I had never tasked before prior to that, so we'll still get into the swing of things.
Yeah, that makes sense. I kind of had the same experience when tassing this game as well.
Will I be moving upstairs? In fact, I am moving in a few days, and there is no basement where I am moving, so I will have to be upstairs. Sorry to say.
Oh, sounds like you'll have to get a name change then.
Yeah.
The guy on this floor.
Yes. But overall, the TAS was a fun project. I started it basically like it was the glitchless TAS that I was inspired by like all the previous TASs, but watching the glitchless TAS and then just like how things were like just generally in life at the time, I had a lot of free time, so I'm like, you know what? I'll try and do a TAS, and I was thinking of categories that had not been done yet, and I'm like, well, all dungeons has been done, Hundo has been done, 80% has been done before, so I'll try no save and quit, because no save and quit is the first category I ever ran back in 2013 or whatever, whenever it was. So I thought it was a good callback to the category that got me into speedrunning this game as a whole, so it was a fun challenge for sure.
Yeah, and it does mean that we now have TASs for all 5 main leaderboard categories of Twilight Princess.
Which is... Are there... I'm sure OOT has that as well, but that's pretty rare for a lot of games, especially ones this long.
Yeah. And especially for just, like, GameCube games in general, I would imagine.
Yeah, we don't have Wii 80% yet. Also,
I'll go for it.
Gonna correct something I said earlier. This test didn't do the trick that makes Japanese faster, which is a frame perfect trick at the Gorge, the Kakariko Gorge portal. So, I think Japanese is slightly slower for this round, actually.
So I think I lost time, and if I was to redo it, it would probably be in German if I was to redo the task, because there are a few route ideas I'd want to try out that would require German, or require map glitch anyway.
Yeah, I think it's only a frame or two lost because of that.
Yeah, it's nothing like. I'm glad I did in Japanese in the end, because you never get to see Twilight Princess ran in JP, so it was nice to show off the Japanese version. Well, just if anyone ever like is interested in tassing this game, we do have on ZeldaSpeedruns.com. Beast did a lot of work on TAS resources, and that was very helpful when it came to actually getting started, because it has a lot of technical information that's important to know prior to starting. And then also I gotta give a shout out to Trog for Trog made the free cam tool that wasn't done just in with Dolphin's free look. It was actually a tool that Trog made, and I was able to convince him to make me a workable version that worked with Twilight Princess, because he made it for Wind Waker and showcased it in his No MSS task. So definitely check that out if you haven't. That's where I got a lot of that inspiration from. Taka also helped with getting certain addresses that were required for that. And then, as well as the other taskers that I had questions, I asked a lot of questions to like TasMaster, Beast, Ekke, Jim. I asked pretty much anyone who's tasked a question at least multiple times, so all that helped out a lot with multiple different things.
yeah, now you can take up the mantle and answer other people's task questions.
True. If you want to join the TP Discord, it's discord.gg/TP. And then go to zeldaspeedruns.com is where you can find the TAS information.
Yeah, and that is pretty much the end of the video file right there.
Yep.
We have
The
1 minute
end.
on this screen.
It lasts forever for some reason.
Yeah, they make you power off the console or reset if you want to get off of this screen for some reason.
I don't think that's true on every version. I think
This one fades to black after a while.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when it fades, that's just the game itself fading out. It's not like me fading it.
Well, I paused the video, so we're not going to see that.
Oh well, we don't get to see the fancy fade out.
But yeah, so I guess do either of you have anything more you want to add on to the commentary at the end here?
Mainly just thanks for allowing me to show it off on your channel to get eyes on it, and thank you too for also co-comming as well.
And thanks for the great task, TGD.
Yeah, thank you very much
Fun to
for
watch.
adding another one to the TAS arsenal.
The more tasks we can get, they're only going to get better from here. So it's very cool seeing other people tasks, because we've also had some recent task competitions, and those have been cool as well. So a lot of task content.
Yeah, the more people who do it, the kind of just the better it all becomes. That's why we have wiggle break sliding.
Yes.
But yeah, so I guess if that's going to be it, thank you guys all for coming out and watching today. The amazing Twilight Princess No Saving Quit TAS by TGD. Hope that you guys all have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will see you guys later. Goodbye.